Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So if you're new here, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell. That way every time I post up a new video, you get notified. It helps me out a whole lot, and I hope to help you out a whole lot. So getting into today, we're going to talk about something that I don't see a whole lot of anglers talking about, whether it's on the elite level or just the YouTube guys. So boat positioning. Boat positioning is everything. I know it sounds super simple. Okay, if there's a point here, then yada, 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 get right here, I'll fish this out through here, and then I'm gone. There's a lot more to it than that. So stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. This is the most important thing, one of the most important things in bass fishing. All right, so boat positioning, one of the most important factors in bass fishing. So what do I do when I'm fishing these areas or structures and cover and stuff like that? If you're not familiar, when I use the words structure and cover, check out my latest video, bass fishing. You know, during the dog days of summer or whatever, just check out that last video. I kind of go over the difference between structure and cover. So one of the biggest things that you've got to understand is where these bass position themselves, especially during seasonal patterns. So we could be talking about spring, we could be talking about summer, and we could be talking about fall. Either case, right now we're in the summer, so let's start there. Summertime, where do these fish live? Make sure you check out my latest video. I go over where these fish live during this time of year. And you do have different types of bass. The nomadics that just cruise here, there, and everywhere. You got the ones that live on the main lake. Then you got the ones in the back of the creeks. Okay, or I say in the back of the creeks, the creek fish. The fish that live in the creek year-round. They live in the creek, spawn in the creek, die in the creek. They're always in the creeks. So, let's say, and I'm going to post up some images and stuff like that, and I'll have some little details in those images so you can see exactly what I'm saying. But first, I'm going to just start with the simple stuff. Your points, okay, your main lake points. 90% of the time, the bass fishermen that I see fishing the points, and I have no idea why, I guess just habit, they're on top of the point and they're banging the bank. They're sitting on top of the point and they're just throwing at the bank and then bringing that bait back across the point. Can you catch fish that way? Absolutely, absolutely. If there's fish positioned in between where that boat's sitting and the bank and they're ready to eat, yes, you're going to have bass that'll be there, okay? But it doesn't always happen like that. So the fish that live on the points, they're going to be on top of the point when they're feeding, and then they're going to be out suspended from the point when they're not feeding. So how you position your boat can determine on whether or not you catch those fish. A lot of times it's not always about the lure. It's not about how you work the lure. It's not about the color of the lure or what lure you're using. It doesn't matter at all. Sometimes it is just the position of the boat and the direction that you're bringing that bait. 90% of the time, that's what it is. It has nothing to do with what you're using. That's just like if you've ever had somebody in your boat, or you may be that person in that person's boat, y'all are both kind of using the same thing, but he's wearing them out and you're not. It may be the position. It may be the position of where he's casting his bait and the angle he's bringing that bait that's triggering those fish to bite. Those are the little stuff that you need to pay attention to. A lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with the bait. It's how either they're using the bait or the angle that they're using the bait, the positioning. So on this point, say you got a regular main lake point, okay? Right here where my palms is where it starts at the bank, and then right here is the tip of the point, okay? What I do specifically to target these fish, I always suspect that they're going to be towards the tip of the point. So I start at the tip of the point. I may position my boat over here, and I will cast on the outside of the point and bring my bait like this across that point, all the way across. Then, if I do not get bit, I move around to the other side and position my boat over here, and then I will cast this way. Okay, now if that doesn't work, I will move my boat from here to here. Okay, this is shoreline too. I will move my bait to here, and I will cast my bait across like this, and then bring my bait this way. Then I will swap sides, go to this side over here, okay? I'll go to this side right here, and I will cast this way and bring the bait in this general direction. Sometimes, I've had this happen several times, and I've had a lot of people that go with me very surprised that this happens. Sometimes the fish will be positioned on the end of the point, and no matter what you do, no matter what angle you get, it seems like you can't get bit. That's where you change everything that you know about fishing from a boat, bass fishing. So a little story, me and my uncle was fishing up on Lewis Smith Lake, and we were having issues. We knew that there was fish on this point, right? Well, we could not get bit by those fish no matter what angle we positioned the boat or anything. We just couldn't get bit. So I had this idea, well, we'll just position the boat on the bank. Not put the boat necessarily on the bank, but we were pretty close to the bank on the point, casting out like we were bank fishing. And we fired those fish up that way just by changing our angle, using the same baits and everything. We fired them up using the same baits at a different angle that they had not seen. There's probably nobody that bank fishes right there. They just had never saw, the bait being drug from that direction, I guess. So either way, repositioning your boat in different angles and not sitting directly on top of the point until it is your last attempt to try and catch the fish that you know were there, okay? So, now, moving on from that, another thing you have to take into consideration, shadows. Shadows. People do not think of shadows at all. A lot of people just doesn't think anything about it. It's not something that they think about. Because when they see the sun up here, and let's say the point's right here, and that sun's casting over, well, the point's so many feet down, it doesn't really register to even think about shadows. But up to a certain amount of feet, you're going to have direct sunlight hitting whatever's under the water, okay? And it casts shadows, just like your sonar. When you're using side imaging or down imaging or anything like that, you're looking at the shadows, okay? You're looking at the shadows. The sun does the exact same thing, okay? Through the water. And it's going to hit these points and stuff, rocks, anything like that, and it's going to cast a shadow. So pay attention to what direction the sun is. Typically, if I'm fishing points, I want the sun to my face, and then I'm casting towards the sun over the point, and I'm bringing my bait down to the shadow side, because if that sun's over here and then the angle of the point's over here, the sun is going to cast a shadow on this side of the point. It may be a shadow this wide, but those fish will sit in that shadow. It's just like this. They're a predator, okay? They're hunting. They're a predator. Are they going to hide in direct sunlight, or are they going to hide in a shadow or in the dark? They're going to hide in the dark. Little stuff like that makes a world of difference. Another thing, be careful casting the shadow of you onto the point, okay, or onto whatever you're fishing. If you have direct sunlight at your back and your boat's casting a shadow right over there, it's just like a bird seeing a shadow go across the ground or something like that. They're going to take off. They're going to take off, okay, because it's some type of movement that's not familiar for that area, okay? So pay attention to little stuff like that. So same way, let's talk about the creeks, okay? The creeks, positioning your boat in the creeks. So in these creeks, a lot of times, you've got the points. I work the points the same way that I do on the main lake, okay? There's no difference. I treat the creek like it's a main lake, okay? Doesn't matter what size creek it is. Doesn't matter if it's 100 yards or 2 miles. I treat that creek just like it's a main lake, okay? So you've got these bends in creeks, right? You've got the huge winding bends, these arms and stuff that go around. You've got the inside and you've got the outside. Depending on current, wind, and stuff like that will determine on which side that I fish on. Okay, now if I've got wind blowing from this direction and the bend goes around this way and the wind's pushing this way, but on the back side of that round bend, there's no current or no wind hitting it, a lot of times those fish will position right there, right? Okay, and then bait and stuff like that will move along the edge of that point and try to cut around, and the fish ambush them as they come around the side using cover and structure. So how would you position your boat here? So around the bend. So you're going around the bend here, and the bass are positioning themselves right here. I want to be back behind the bass. I want to be, 50, 60, 70 foot away from where those fish sit, and I'm going to try to make a cast past that point and make that angle or around the bend and make that angle cut around where my bait comes exactly like the bait would. Because the wind is going to make current, and the current is going to push those bait fish and stuff around the stuff they like to eat. So, and pay attention to the shadows. You know, if I've got sun to my back when I'm doing this, I do not want to cast my shadow over where those bass may be sitting. It's all about high percentage areas. Okay, when you're watching Kevin Van Dam and them boys, that's what they're doing. They're hitting those high percentage areas. They're not sitting in one spot all day long necessarily. There's certain times that you have to do that and certain times you don't. But either way, most of your big power fishermen, that's what they're doing. They're hitting those high percentage areas during practice and figuring out the areas that have the best population of bass or the biggest bass in that area. And while you're doing that, how do I explain this? So hitting your high percentage areas, you may catch less fish, but you probably will catch better quality fish, if that makes sense. So it all depends on what you want to do. If you want to put the trolling motor down and beat the bank all the way down a creek, you'll probably catch 20 or 30 fish. 20 or 30 fish. If you're smart about your boat position and you're paying attention to what's going on, you're probably going to catch 20 or 30 fish. But, I don't want to catch these. That's the main thing. I don't want to catch these. I want to get around those, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3+ pounders, okay? That's what I want. Now, like I said, you may be different, but hitting high percentage areas, your laydowns, your points, your bends, and stuff like that at a smart angle using boat positioning to do this, it will make a world of difference in your game. Pay attention to the sun. Think of where the shadows could be, where they could hide. It's just like in a river system. If you see current running around the rock, it's going to go on the outside of the rock. The fish is going to sit behind the rock. The way it's not having to sit there and swim in current and just, wear itself out or whatever, right? Same way. If it's casting a shadow over this way, it's up on this side. It's going to hide in the shadow. And then when something comes up over it, boom, swim up, eat it, goes right back down. Doesn't use that much energy at all. So guys, I hope that helps you a lot. I'm going to show you some images and stuff, and I'm going to have like little highlights and stuff, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I say boat positioning and stuff, just to give you a few examples after the video. So stay tuned for that, but make sure, like I said, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. It helps me out a whole lot. Hit the notification bell. That way every time I post up a new video, you're notified. But pay attention to how you're positioning your boat, where the sun's at, so on and so forth, and you'll do a whole lot better on the water. It will change your whole game. I appreciate it. See you next time.